नमो ब्रह्मादिभ्यो ब्रह्म विद्या संप्रदाय कर्तृभ्यो वंश ऋषिभ्यो महद्भ्यो नमो गुरुभ्यः सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयम् करुणालयम् नमामि भगवत्पाद शङ्करम् लोकशङ्करम् शङ्करम् शङ्कराचार्यम् केशवम् बादरायणम् सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। अतः शान्ति मन्त्रम्। ॐ वाङ्मे मनसि प्रतिष्ठिता मनो मे वाचि प्रतिष्ठितम् आविराविर्मा एति वेदस्य मा आणीस्तः श्रुतम् मे मा बर्हासीः अनेनाधीधेनाहोरात्रान् सन्ददामि ऋतम् वदिष्यामि सत्यम् वदिष्यामि तन्मामवतु तद्वक्तारमवतु अवतु माम् अवतु वक्तारम् अवतु वक्तारम्। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। As we saw in the previous two classes that Aitareya Upanishad as not as a traditional Upanishad where we have seen in the earlier classes there is a dialogue between Guru and Shishya, and most of them is directly into the Tattva Prativadanam or into the discussion of the truth and attached Upasana if there is any. Unlike them, the Aitareya Upanishad is detailing the creation, the story of creation for the benefit of those who think the creation is real and they wanted to, know what is the story behind or what is the reality behind creation. So in the first two classes we saw that Atma va ikameva agra asid nanya kinjanam shat sa lokan srija iti. So that Atma alone existed. Atma Brahman alone existed in the beginning. So in the beginning, even though it is indicating of time, it is the beginning after the story has started or after the creation has started. There was no time before that. And then, na kinchana mishat, there was no movement whatsoever, not even to a batting of an eyelid. Saha lokan usraja iti, sa ikshata. He willed or desired or thought or projected. The terms can be different depending upon which way you want to enumerate the story of creation. So, from the point of view, I would prefer to take the word that he willed or projected the creation, starting with Hiranyagarbha or the Pratama Ja. That Hiranyagarbha or Prajapati as the first creator, and then he does the further creation. We saw a bit of that in our Prashnopanishad also, in the form of prana and the creations in the prana. Here also you will find the reference to similar terms in the creation here also mentioned. So here the Prajapati creates the Adi Daivika, that is the divine aspects of creation from the point of view of divine sources. That is where that creation starts in the form of Prajapati and the Lokapalaha, or the ones who are protecting the worlds of creation. And the worlds of creation is in the form of the 14 lokas, which has been mentioned in the Puranas as well as in the Upanishads. So those 14 worlds are the one then protected by the guardians of the world, or worlds, you can say. But not only that, the creation stopped at the creating the world and the world guardians. There is something called Adhyatma, that is what is within the creation, or what in the creator's aspect of. This aspect has been now given the terminology as what you call the sense organs, both the sense organs of perception and the organs of action. They are considered as the Adhyatma in the creation, order of creation. So the protectors of the world and the Adhyatma, which is the sense organs and in the both perception and the action and actions, or creative nature of the individual's actions. But the creator was not just happy with the creation of the world and the sense organs. He also created the guardians for each of the senses, because they are not only the sense organs, but they are also guarded by the sense organ, the guardians, what we call the Daivi Shakti of the sense organs. But what was lacking was the link between the world of objects and the creator, or the created Prajapati, or the individual, both macrocosmic and microcosmic level. So Asana, Pipasa, these are the two creations of in the sequence, which was not allocated any specific place. So what was required for the Asana and Pipasa means the thirst and the hunger of the sense organs and actions of, senses of actions, needed a separate set of creation. That is what is called the food annam, which is being narrated in the third section of the first chapter, which becomes the product for consumption for the sense organs, for quenching their thirst. So the thirst and hunger, not when I am saying thirst, it means thirst and hunger have to be taken together. So for that together is the third set of creation. So Adi Daivika, Adhyatma, and now comes the Adi Bhautika. Now Adi Bhautika is the entire world of objects. Now how does that creation takes place? Sa ikshata imenu lokaha lokapalaha cha annam ebhya srijai iti. He thought, now then, these worlds and the world of protectors or world guardians and food, let me send that out. The food is being sent out. The food is there outside. Or the food, here the food doesn't mean what we consume by mouth. Okay. the food is what is visual objects are the food for the vision. Like that, everything is for the ears, the sound and sound products are the food. For the skin, the touch and the touch sensations related products are the food. Like that, we have to take it into consideration. So when it is let me send out, means he is now created the world for the to be consumed. Saha apaha abhyata apat. Tabhyaha abhitapadhyaha murtihi ajayata. Here is the actual creation of the world of objects, what is now taking place. From the waters, because we know that the world of water is very important in the order of creation. And the words used are abhyatapaha and apaha, all those things which are indicative typically of the Vedic language, which in other ways we should take it as what we should understand in the form of, in the modern parlance, we should say that he deliberated with regard to the water, from water, thus he thought about and evolved a solid form. And the form that emerged was called Annam, or is indeed Annam. This is how Gambhirananda has translated it. Saha means he, the Atman, being desirous of creating the food. Abhyatapat, deliberated and thought about it, or ikshata, with regard to apaha, which has been already mentioned as one of the creations. Tabhyaha abhyatapat, from that water was the birth of Ajayata, is the birth of the solid food, the solid form, Murtihi. Murtihi, Murtam means which has got a solid form. So Murtihi is the solid form of the creation, which is called Annam. Yadvai Saha Murti Ajayata. From that evolved the Annam. Tad Annam Vai is called what is called the creation in the form of thing. Tadena Srishtam Parang Jikham Tat Sat Vacha Ajigrishat Tat Nan Shaknot Dvacha Grihitum Saha Yadvai Na Vacha Agrahishyat Abhyavahritya Hai Va Annam Atramat Syat. So this food which was now created started moving away from the individual. So the individual approaches it by speech. That is normal procedure. No, if something is moving away from us and we want that attention of that, we will call it by a name. Therefore, the speech here gives rise to the name for the form. The form and the name has now been created. But the problem is that by calling the name of the food, he was not successful enough to know the nature of the product or nature of the vastu. So if he had been able to succeed by calling the name for the object and has been satisfied by that, then he would have been contented or, happy with the food, But the food was not being in a situation to be consumed by the individual. He saw the murti or the form of it, he called it by a name, but he could not consume it. That is by it is what happens to all of us also. We call all the objects in the world by name and form, but that name and form of the object doesn't give us satisfaction because we are unable to consume it or to quench the thirst or the hunger and thirst of the individual, of the Atma or the Adhyatma. So tad edat annam, the srishtam, he created the annam, and the annam or the food was now looking at the Adhyatma or the individual as because he has got the hunger and thirst in him. So food thought that, the food means the object thought that he is going to devour me or consume me, so let me move away from him. Atyajigishmit, he went beyond the reach of the individual, wanted to go beyond the reach. And then therefore he used the speech to vacha agrajigyakshat, for that food to be called by name. Na akshnod, he could not succeed to consume by calling it a name. Grihitum tad means to consume it or take up that by vacha. Yat saha agrijigyashat enat vacha atripsyat abhivyahrayat eva enam. So what happens is here is that even the Prajapati in the macrocosmic level, he was not able to get satisfied by grasping or addressing the food by names. So it remained unsatisfactory for even Prajapati. Then what happens? Tat pranena jigrakshat. Tad na shaknot pranena grihitum. Saha yadvaina tat pranena agrishyat abhipranya haiva annam atra tapsyat. Atrapsyat. Now, after having failed by the speech, prana, ghrana, jigrad, pranena ajigrashat, by the prana, which is the air which goes through the nostrils. So the nostrils tried jigrishat, pranena grihitum, by using the smell, the sense organ of smell, through the air which is being taken as a breath inside, he could not consume the annam. So here also the annam was not consumed by the microcosmic or macrocosmic individuals. By smelling the food, if smelling of the food have quenched the hunger and thirst of the individual at the macrocosmic or microcosmic level, then that would have met the requirement of the creation. But the food was unconsumed by the process. Then comes the eyes. Tat chakshusha na ajigrishat. Tad na shaknota chakshusha grihitum. Sad yadaitva na chakshusha agrihyat apyadrchtva haiva annam apyatsat. Now the same method is being repeated for again and again by the Upanishad. Only thing is that the sense organ changes. He wanted to take up the food with the eye by satisfying with the vision of the food. he did not succeed in getting his thirst and hunger met with the vision of the food. He could have been successful in meeting the creation's requirement of meeting the hunger and thirst by the vision of the food, but that was not met so. So even the eyes failed, like the nostrils and the speech. Then comes the next one, Srotrena Ajigrishat. Now there comes the ear or the sound, based on the sound. He wanted to take up by the sense organ of ear, by what called names were called by the walk. If he had met it with the sound, will the food be happy to let it allow itself to be consumed? He thought so, the sense organ of ear. Here also, the ear was not able to successfully, consume the food. Thereby, the ear also failed in meeting the requirement of the hunger and thirst. Tad tvacha ajigrishat. Now comes the skin or the sense of touch. Same way, the sense of touch also could not succeed in meeting the requirement of the food to be consumed. And by touching the food, the hunger and thirst was not meted out in the microcosmic or the macrocosmic level. So there, even the twak or the sense of touch failed. But manasana ajigrishat. Now comes the mind. If mind could satisfy by imagining the food, taking up the annam by mental activity, yet why na manasa agrishyat dhyatva, by meditating on the food? If meditating on the food, he could have met the requirement of adhyatma of the food, it would have meted out the requirement of the thirst and hunger. But by just mentally imagining or meditating on the food, that was not meted out. So the hunger and thirst of the individual, microcosmic or the macrocosmic level, could not be meted out. Thereby the hunger and thirst remained unsatisfied even with the mind. Then comes the Shishnena, the sexual organ, because these are all the order in which the creation was listed out in the first two chapters. So the same list is being reproduced here. So even that could not, the procreative organ could not meet out the requirement of the food, and therefore even those requirements were not met by the procreative organs, and the hunger and thirst remained. Then comes apana. Tad apanena ajigrishyat. Tad avayavat. Tad avayat. Soyasya annahasya grihe yad vayur annor va esha yad vayuhu. He wanted to take it up with apana. Apana is, we know that prana apana. Apana is the vital air which from the mouth till the excretory orifice, what keeps the life force moving and the whole body surviving with the not only consuming the food by the mouth, it is also giving the energy for the nabi in the navel level for the heat to be produced and distributed along the, which is being done by the samana. So apana is the one which is helping the food to come to the nabi level, and what has been taken away by the samana to the rest of the body is left out there as the waste is being procreated. If the waste doesn't go, then food cannot enter further. So it will become a roadblock for the system to work. So apana is the one which was successful in taking. So he wanted to try with apana, and apana was able to catch the food. This is the devourer of the food. He is the consumer of the food. This vital energy, which is well known as apana, depends upon the food for such sustenance, and this is the vital energy which is called apana. Being unable to take up food through the nose, eye, ear, skin, etc., the apana now, when he took up the consumption of the food, he was successful. He was successful. Tad avyayat. He took up that. Sa esha apanaha griha. Grahaha. Not griha. Grahaha. Therefore, it is the one which devours the food. Etat vayu. Etat vayu means this yaha vayu, this vital energy. Annayu, why? Esha yat vayuhu. Now, this apanaha, it's also annayuhu. Why? Is also known as annayu. Is the devourer or the vital energy which is now moving is able to consume the food for meeting out the hunger and thirst. Both the hunger and thirst was met out with food being devoured by the apana. Sa ikshata katam nvidam madrithe syad iti sa ikshata katarena prapadhya iti. Sa ikshata, sa ikshate, yes. Yadi vaja abhyahritam, yadi pranena abhipranitam, yadi chakshusha drishtum, yadi shrotrena shrutam, yadi tvacha sprashtam, yadi manasa dhyatam, yad apanena adhyapanitam, yadi shishena visrishtyam athaha kohamasmiti. Now here comes the completion of that. He thought, how indeed can it be there without me? Now this Atma is now wanting a place for itself in the microcosmic and the macrocosmic. So he has now come to a stage where the entire creation is now almost complete. Now, Atma wants to know now which are the two locations through which I can enter this completed creation of mine. Because he has completed the creation, both macrocosmic at the Virat level as the Prajapati or Hiranyagarbha, as a micro small cosmic level as a human form. Because we know that, the cow form was offered, the horse form was offered. They didn't accept all of them. So only when the Purusha form was given, it was accepted. So now Atma wants to enter the body of this Purusha form, where hunger and quest also has been met out. The system is now fully complete. but that need to be completed by his presence. So without me, how can this be a complete thing? So normally there is a saying in the Shastras that Sangadam Pararthatvad. That is, if a house is being built, it is not for the wood, for the stone, for the steel, or for the cement, or for anything. All these things are being assembled for the purpose of somebody else to reside in it. Same way, the Creator has now assembled both all the Adhyatma, Adi-Daivika and Adi-Baudika. Everything is thing, including the food, asana, pipasa. All those things have been met out. Now, for whom is this creation completed? So he is the one who creates, now wants to test it by entering the same body. So he thought, if the utterance is done by the organ of speech, smell, etc., etc., none of them could be succeeded. Kadam, how can this completion be without the master who has created this? So he wants to know which are the two places through which he can enter. So he says that normally entering is done by the feet. But entering the feet, as I am the creator, if I am using the feet for entering, I'll be treated as the what you call servant. Therefore, I have to show that I am the ruler or I am the king. The king doesn't enter through the normal gate. For the king, there is a royal entrance always available. So Shankaracharya in the Bhashya very beautifully describes the king entering the palace. He has got a royal entrance, whereas the Bhrityas or the servants or the ministers, everybody else enters through the different quarters. There are 8 quarters which have been Lokapalas, they have been created, so they enter through those things. But where did the king enter through? That is where the question comes now. Patarena Prayadididi, through which shall I enter? Katarena Prapadhyai, which of the 2 parts should I enter? Having considered this and having deliberated on this is I am translating this from the Shankara Bhashya. That being so, I should not enter the lower way or the tips of the feet. That is the path of the entry for my servant, prana, etc., vital forces. Prana, apana, vayu, all of them have got his thing. So I should not enter through the nostrils, I should not enter through the mouth, I should not enter through the body, I should not enter through the feet, or I should not enter through the excretory orifice. I should be entering from a spring. As a last resort, let me enter by splitting the crown in the head. Having thought so, just like a human being who performs what he thinks, the Atma also thinks that I should enter this body through the orifice at the crown of the head. That is why it is some of the commentators have mentioned, when a newborn baby is born, you can see that the skull is fully not closed at the center of the skull, top portion. It will be still soft, and there will be the pulsation of the heart can be felt at that level. Only those who have sensed it, they will find that, the rest of the skull is solid, including the eyeball side, the nostril side. Everywhere it's solid, except what we call the murdhanya, or the crown, or the skin under the skull, under the top, the tip of the skull, it is still soft. Sa etam eva simanam vidaryataya dvara prapadyate. Sa esha vidrinti nama dvasthaydet annanandam tadannanandam tasya traya avastatrayah swapna ayameva avastha iti. Now, having split this very end, he enters through this door of Shirshimna. The entrance is known as Vidriti. Vidriti means it is that soft spot in the Simanam, that is in the Murdhanya of the baby. You will find that there is an entrance. Hence, it is delightful now. Therefore, he is called Annanandam, because he is now going to be happy with the Annam which can be perceived by the different sense organs, and the Anna which is now being consumed by the what is called the Apana. Hence it is delightful of him. There are three abodes. Now here is the word the Upanishad is bringing, where he is likely to reside. He is entering through the tip of the crown, but he needs abode where he should be staying. The three abodes, the three states of dream, Swapnavastha, that this one is an abode, this one is an abode, this one is an abode. What is that? In the way in which Upanishad says is that Tasya Traya Avastha Trayaha Swapnaha Ayam Eva Avastha Ayam Eva Avastha Ayam Eva Avastha Iti. So what we have to understand that Vidrita Nama, that is that Vidriti is that soft portion of on the head, but the abode for him is to be now decided. This passage is only for the Supreme Lord. That is the passage through which he entered is the passage through which he exits also. So that passage is what is the passage for the Supreme Lord. Tat etat nandanam. Nandanam, this is the productive of joy. That means the happiness through which he entered this place is the place through which the happiness will be enjoyed by the Atma after having entered that Avastatraya. Nandana is the same as Nandana, as per the Bhashyakara or Shankaracharya, because that is the Vedic way of uttering Nandanam. Nandana means Ananda. Nandana is the word. Nandana is the usage in the Vedic language. The lightning it is in the Vedic license to use that Nandana instead of Nandana. It is so called because that one reveals, Nandati, revels, by reaching the Supreme Brahman through this door. That is the methodology of the yogic departure through the Shirsha Sahasrartha. So breaking the Murdhanya is the way in which the yogis rejoiced or revel themselves in the attainment of Brahma Nirvriti, is what it is being referred here. in the Bhashya of the Bhashyakara. Tasya, even though the Upanishad doesn't talk about it, please understand that. It is the commentators and the sub-commentators who are using these terminologies. In the Upanishad, it's only saying that Traya Avastha, and that is that it is being repeated thrice. That is it. So there are other things in the sub-commentaries and everything that Traya Avastha, the three abodes are, one is the right eye on the eyeball and the seat of the sense of waking state. This is the three seats which is mentioned in the waking state. The mind inside during the dream state, and the space within the heart, that is in the state of deep sleep. So in the waking, it is the right side eye. In the dream, it is the mind. In the deep sleep, it is the heart. This is considered the three states, three abodes by the one group of people. Or the three abodes may be taken as the body of the father, body of the mother, womb of the mother, and one's own body. This is the three avasthas before the birth, based on which the entire next chapter is talking about. The second chapter is coming to. So that is why the commentator has taken that the body of the father, the womb of the mother, and one's own body are the avasthatraya, or Jagrat Swapna Sushupti. So there is an objection by a Purva Pakshi saying that waking state is not a dream. So how do you call it as a dream in the Swapna, in the Upanishad? The Upanishad says the Swapna. So why does it say Swapna? Because Jagrat is also considered as Swapnavat, like a Swapna. And it is a state of consciousness. It is very similar to the dream. Then the consciousness is identical in the waking and in the dream. The Upanishad is using only one of them as Swapna, not the Jagrat Swapna Sushupti as separate. So this is how the commentator is breaking it up. Either Jagrat Swapna Sushupti, the waking, dream and deep sleep, or the three abodes are the right eye, the mind and the heart of the individual are the same as the Virat also, or the father's body for the body part of the father, which is the procreatory organ, the mother's womb, and together the body of the baby, of the third abode. So when the baby is born, he enters the baby's body. The Atma enters the baby's body. That is the one way of looking at it. This, I told you, these are all imaginary creation by the rishis, but not talking about the truth into which he is ultimately leading us all to. So all these are all for brain teasers for us to decide whether we should really believe them or not. Sajataha bhutani abhivyabhyat kim hanyam vava va avadikshati sa etam eva purusham brahma tattam apashyat idam darshamati. So here, being born, after having now entered the body, he manifested all beings, not only one body. He enters tat trishtva tadevanu pravishat. So he, having created everything from himself, because The first statement should not be forgotten. Atmava idam eva agre asit. Only Atma was there. From Atma only is the creations are coming from down. So, he having now manifested in all the beings, or he did speak of anything else? No. He realized this very Purusha as Brahman. The individual, he realized, this is very important. The Upanishad says that he realized this very Purusha as Brahman, the most pervasive, thus I have realized this. See, the words in the Upanishad is what? Sa etameva purusham brahma tatam apashyat. Idam adarsham iti. So these two statements are of Atma who have now entered the bodies of all the creations. Every creation he has now entered, from the Adi Daivika to Adhyatma to Adi Bautika. From the macrocosmic Virat and Prajapati or Virat or Hiranyagarbha to the Pipilika or even the ant or the smallest of the grain on the earth or any creation. Having tat trushtva tadaiva anupravisheshat, he now says that Saha etameva purusham brahma tatam apashyat. That Purusha, the one who has now become the individual human being, Brahman tatam apashyat. He realized Brahma in his body, in this very body, which is indicating to us, or the Upanishad is giving us an indication saying that in this very body is the potential of that Atma having entered, tat trushtva tadeva anupravishyat. He is there very much in this body. Idam adrishyadmiti. He saw it in this very body. This Atma sees that Brahman, which is tatam. Tatam means all pervading. That all pervading Brahman was realized by Atma in this very body. Adrishyamiti. This is the 13th mantra, which is very clearly saying that Atma realized. Atma here means the individual. Having entered that body through the creation, has realized that Brahma, which is Tatam, which is all pervading, apashyat, he saw it, idam adarashamiti. I am seeing that, I have realized this. That is the statement of Atma, that I have now realized this Brahman in this very body. Tasmat idandro nama idandro havai nama. Tamidandram santam idandra indra ityachakshate parokshena. Paroksha priya iva hi deva, paroksha priya iva hi deva. Tasmat, therefore, or here what is saying that, therefore, he is idandra. Now this is a typical Vedic utterance. Idandra is the real name of this individual. He is verily known as Idandra. Now he is also, although he is Idandra, they call him by a pet name Indra. So Idandra, even though is his real name, he is being called by a pet name Indra, because gods are verily found of their indirect names. All the gods have got multiple names, that pet names, that even though, all the gods have got their own individual names, they also would like to be called by the pet names. So here, this one who realized Brahman in this body is called Idandra. It is the same Atman, now as Purusha, having realized the Brahman in this body, is now being called Idandra. He is also known as Indra, because it is the way in which gods are fond of calling themselves by the indirect name. That is how it is to be understood, that Indra, it is not talking about the Deva, Indra as a Devendra. Here he is talking the one who has realized the Brahman in this very body. He is called Idandra, but as a pet name he is called Indra, and it is repeated twice that he is called Idandra, he is called this by that term. Parokshapriya iti Deva, Parokshapriya Deva iti. So this completes the entire creation and the purpose of creation for realizing Brahman, and the realization and the happiness which he achieves by realization. He is called Idandra or Indra. With that, I will conclude today's topic, and tomorrow and Friday we will be going to the second chapter. But before starting the second chapter is a dialogue between Shankaracharya and his opponent or his disciple, which is in Sanskrit. I'll read the Sanskrit and read the translation, and so that we can go through the dialogue exactly as how that dialogue should be understood. Because that is very important, because Shankaracharya is developing the philosophical aspect of the Upanishad in that dialogue, which has to be understood because he is referring to the first three sections of the first chapter as reference point to the philosophical points. So we will do that on the next coming day, the Friday, and I'll stop it here today. I don't think there should be any questions answered, because these are all basically on the imaginary story which has been developed. However, you can continue to that. So I'll stop it here with the Shanti Mantra from Om. वाङ्मे मनसि प्रतिष्ठिता मनो मे वाजि प्रतिष्ठितम् आविराविर्म एति वेदस्य म आणीस्तः श्रुतम् मे मा प्रहासीः अनेनाधीदेनाहोरात्रान् सन्ददामि ऋतम् वदिष्यामि सत्यम् वदिष्यामि तन्मामवतु तद्वक्तारमवतु अवतु माम् अवतु वक्तारम् अवतु वक्तारम् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदम् पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः हरिः ॐ श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ॐ. Thank you. धन्यवाद.